Hello everyone and welcome to the Commexis Cast Daily, all the news you need to know from our inbox to yours. I'm Matthew McGrorty, the videographer and podcaster here at Commexis, and today I'm joined by the lead strategist at Commexis, Phillip, and the president of Commexis, Len Ward.
Morning.
So our story for today, Adweek had a piece about the Olympic Games, and if you're thinking of tweeting your support for the United States team, don't. You're not allowed to. So the Adweek piece focused on what you can and cannot tweet and talk about on social media as a brand. Personally, you're fine to basically tweet whatever you want. And things such as good luck to Team USA in the Olympics at Pyeongchang is not good and might actually see you subjected to a fine. So there's a rule called Rule 40. It's a bylaw in the Olympic Charter that restricts public references to Olympic competitions solely to sponsors that have paid for it. So brands such as Coca-Cola can almost do whatever they want in terms of advertising, but unfortunately, you cannot mention them at all. And the reason is that the Olympics are expensive. For example, the Rio Games cost over $13 billion to stage, and sponsorship revenues were about $848 million for Rio as well. So the International Olympic Committee does not want anybody else trying to cash in at their quote-unquote expense. So I think this is really ridiculous, but I mean, what do you guys think?
Well, I understand they have to protect their brand.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if people are shelling out that much money, they're going to want that exclusivity, which is what they mentioned that in the article itself. But at some point you have to realize this is a national event and an international event. But if you're somebody who wants to to wish your team luck, it's kind of silly, but I mean, you get more people watching it and get more eyes on it, I feel like, if you do that kind of stuff. But I can see that some people would abuse it as well. Mm-hmm. So, it may be the idea is you just have to say no completely, but it just seems like a nightmare to enforce.
Yeah, absolutely. The reason that this rule even kind of exists is because typically it's meant for advertising, which is pretty straightforward when we talk about, TV spots, if specifically like Facebook ads or Google ads or something like that. But there comes this sort of blurry line between what is an ad and what isn't an ad on social media when you're tweeting as a brand, and in this case in support of the Olympics. So I get why they do that. I'm just surprised that you can't even tweet out something small like, hey, just wanted to send some support. But
so individuals can't tweet?
Personal people, so individuals and personal Twitter accounts can. It's specifically brands that cannot.
Okay, so if we wish the Olympians luck, we couldn't do that.
We can't, no.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. So if you're thinking of asking for a tweet or sending out a tweet on behalf of a brand or for your brand or for your business, you can't do that.
Like, what if you were local and we had a local athlete competing and you wanted to wish that athlete specifically luck? That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of athletes, Adweek did a little breakdown of what even the athletes competing in the games can and cannot share on their social media after a certain date. There's a blackout date. I believe it's the start of the games to the end of them, of what they can actually tweet about. So, for example, athletes are able to share their experiences at the games via social media, including their own pictures or videos. They can use Olympic symbols as long as they're not in a commercial context, and nod to the brands that sponsor them or appear in generic ads for those brands, so long as there are no overt references to the Olympics or use of Olympic terminology. Athletes cannot post or talk about their personal brand, sponsors, or mention any branded products, mention or promote any organizations they support, post photos or videos of the actual competition, and wear any branded apparel that isn't official on Olympics property.
Didn't they do something like this with the Super Bowl? Wasn't it you weren't allowed, companies weren't allowed to use the name Super Bowl
they still
at all?
do. They trademarked the term Super Bowl, which is why you see in a lot of these. Yeah, they call it the big game or something like that. You'll see somebody make these oblique references to that. A lot of times it's like TV sales, things like that. But yeah, they absolutely have done that, and it's. I think we all know what it is because it's such an iconic thing, but it does seem silly to most people, I think.
Well, but we really know what the Super Bowl is now.
Well, we do now. And if you're seeing this, we all survived yesterday, just so you know.
We actually saw it.
Yeah, we were, at least two of us were there. Matt.
That didn't make it.
Unfortunately, sorry. I saw a lot of videos on social media, so it was like I was there. So speaking of, talking about things, calling them the big game, there are actually specific trademarked words and phrases, including but not limited to Olympic, Olympiad, Olympian, and future Olympian, go for the gold and gateway to gold, let the games begin, Paralympic, Paralympiad, and Paralympian, Pan American, Pan Am Games. Basically, every single location and date for the Olympics, it looks like up into 2028, and then things like Road to Rio, et cetera, et cetera.
Those are all trademarks, yeah.
Yes, and then of course Team USA and stuff like that. So even saying something such as the Games is deemed too close for comfort.
Wow.
I noticed
amazing.
One thing I wanted to ask is, so they mentioned about the athletes and not using branded products,
Yes.
but if you're a snowboarder or a skier and you're using something, they don't make you blank out like that this is a Burton snowboard, for example, or anything like that?
I'm not sure, only because I feel like if people are taking pictures of you using that brand, you're not necessarily like advertising that brand.
Yeah,
or maybe you just can't post a picture.
Because it sounds like it's limited to apparel, but I mean, a lot of these sports use a lot of other equipment. Others, especially in the Winter Olympics, you've got weapons for the biathlon. You've got guys using all that skis and snowboards and that kind of stuff. So I was just curious because obviously that stuff's going to be on the. They're not going to give them a blank version of a snowboard. I mean, it seems kind of silly.
Wow.
So one thing, other brands that are let me talk about official sponsor brands. So these are official sponsors of the Winter Olympics. They can advertise while the games are in progress, enjoy exclusive advertising within their marketing category, mention the games on social media platforms, use the word Olympics and related terms and symbols that go with it, supply their goods and services on an exclusive basis with Olympics avenues, and they cannot conduct any advertising or promotions that haven't been pre-approved by the USOC.
We all know how much they're sticklers to the USOC. The Olympic Committee in general, they're so not corrupt at all.
Yeah, no, that was good.
So the other brands, brands that have relationships with athletes, but are participating in the game, but are not direct sponsors, they are allowed to run marketing campaigns that feature the likeness of the athletes they sponsor, so long as they make no overt or implied reference to the Olympic Games, and provided they have obtained USOC approval.
Can I put a picture of my athlete with snow behind him, or is that too much?
So they cannot engage in quote-unquote ambush marketing, which is basically any attempt to create the false impression of an official relationship with the games. They cannot launch a new campaign while the games are in progress that features an athlete who is competing, even if no mention of the game is made. Use any official terms like Olympics, Olympic Games, and Olympiads, and use terms that even suggest the Olympics, depending on context, including victory, games, medal, bronze, silver, gold, and Pyeongchang. So a lot of things that other brands cannot do. Of course, this does not mention what you and your brand, unless you're sponsoring an athlete that's currently competing, can do. But I think it is a very safe bet to say just don't at all, unless you're going to really try and do a circular route in what you're allowed to say.
Remember, first, second, third place, don't use those medals.
Yeah, exactly.
You figure they may try to get more recognition out there, get people to watch more. I mean, I understand a company could be abusive with this. I get that, and try to profiteer off it. But I mean, come on. I don't know. I completely disagree with this.
What surprises me the most is I don't understand why you can't even necessarily do like one tweet about, hey, Team USA or
Good luck,
something
Team
like
USA.
Yeah. But I mean, that's copyright law for you, I say. Yeah. Well, folks, thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the Commexis Cast Daily. Check us out on Monday for more of the latest trending news. Have a great day.
Thanks.